As fantastic a CFP as Mel O is, as wonderful an attorney as I am, and as good as Stormy is at whatever it is he does, please do note that anything said in our podcasts are our opinions alone and are not meant to be taken as financial or legal advice.
Welcome to Finances, the Other F Word, a Gen Xer podcast for musicians and music lovers, where we discuss money and music without all the pretentious bullshit. Here are your hosts, Zoe Terry, attorney at large, Stormy Andrews, founder of Yokel Local Marketing, and Mel O, certified financial planner and author of Finances, the Other F Word. Listener discretion is advised.
Hey guys, Mel O here. A lot of you have expressed interest in getting a better understanding of how tariffs work. And I know that sometimes when we do the podcast, we can get sidetracked or start making jokes. And so I wanted to give you just another explanation of how tariffs work in order maybe to help clear up some things. As always, we appreciate all of your feedback, and please make sure you hit us up on social media at Finances the Other F Word on Facebook and Instagram, and at Amped Cheddar on Twitter. Now, I've talked multiple times about how tariffs affect revenues, but the thing is that there's longer term effects from tariffs that can't be measured. And we've had tariffs implemented on various countries since the first quarter of 2018. We have no end in sight of the tariffs being resolved at this point. So we're going to take two examples, and I'm going to start talking real slow, okay? The first one we're going to take is the example of an existing tariff, because that's where we are today. We have tariffs on goods, almost all goods at this point, specifically from China, so they're going to be my target today, okay? Now, we're going to assume that there is an existing tariff in place. We're going to assume that the United States has a t-shirt that it sells for $30, and China has the same comparable t-shirt that they sell for $25. So the United States imposes a tariff of $5 to bring the Chinese t-shirt of $25 up to par with the United States on $30 and $30. Now, first of all, one of the rules of economists and economy to be efficient is that you as a consumer should be allowed to purchase the highest quality, comparable, cheapest good from whoever you want to, whenever you want to. Okay, that's just efficiency. So if you want to buy a t-shirt from China at $25 that's comparable to one that's more expensive, regardless of what country it comes from, to be efficient in an economy, that is what you should have the ability to do. Okay, now, so we take that example, and now we have two things that are on par. Now let's assume that the tariff is repealed, because at this point, with the tariffs that are implemented now, that's what we would be doing, is we would be repealing tariffs. So now we repeal the $5 tariff off of the Chinese t-shirts. Now, the first immediate effect of that would be the worst case scenario: the United States t-shirt industry goes completely away. Okay, everybody loses their jobs in the t-shirt industry because now we can buy $25 t-shirts from China. Therefore, we won't buy a t-shirt that's American made for $30. Okay, and I'm not going to get into, well, labor overseas is cheaper and they don't treat them right. Okay, all that stuff aside, just look at the numbers. Now, what happens is that we have now lost jobs from the t-shirt industry in the United States, but we are supporting employment in China. That's what we're doing, right? Because now they're making more t-shirts and we're buying more t-shirts because they're cheaper. But what happens is that now China has more money to spend on our goods and services that we do efficiently over in the United States. Also, what ends up happening is that you have now $5 of newfound, and I'm doing air quotes, nobody can see them, newfound money. Okay, so now that you can buy a Chinese t-shirt at $25, you now have an extra $5 in your pocket that you can spend in various other industries within the United States. And what happens is where we see an immediate and short-term effect of a industry in the United States that might go out of business. What we can't trace, or that is it's extremely harder to trace, is where all that other $5 is spent. Maybe now you go to a fast food restaurant and you pick yourself up lunch, or maybe you go buy a Starbucks, or maybe you buy your kid that toy that they wanted with this newfound $5. And what ends up happening is that $5 now supports other industries within the United States. And it's important to remember that if we could do t-shirts at $25 in America, we would have already been doing it. We would already been creating efficient goods in that manner. So what ends up happening is that we support China employment in this example, and yes, they do have the ability that they can buy more things from us. Plus, we have a new $5 that we found, okay? Not to mention that maybe the washing machine industry now goes crazy because we're just all balling out on t-shirts. And so now we need people to come in and service our washing machines, or maybe we need to buy extra washing machines to wash all of our really cheap t-shirts. So now all these people from let's say it was 10,000 people in the t-shirt industry lost their jobs. They can go into these other industries that are now created because the tariff was repealed. So that's an example of repealing an existing tariff. Now, let's assume that the argument is made that we're going to put a tariff on because we want to create a new industry. Okay, so let's say that the t-shirt industry in the United States does not exist, and we're going to implement a tariff on Chinese t-shirts, because in America we can make the t-shirt for $30 and they are going to make it for $25. We're going to impose a $5 tariff. Thus, we're going to create a t-shirt industry here in America, and we're going to employ 10,000 people. Okay, that's an immediate number you see, and it's a great sticking point and talking point for politicians on both sides of the aisle. Okay, so it's easy for you to go, yeah, see, because of what I did, now we have 10,000 extra jobs. Well, you don't have 10,000 extra jobs, because remember, at the point in time we are right now in our cycle, unemployment is historically low. So what happens is that those 10,000 people that went to go work in the t-shirt industry have just left other industries. There's no net gain to jobs at all. So you have a movement of people from some industries to the other. Then what you have is now, since you've put a tariff on China, you've now eliminated the cheaper option for a comparable product in the market, which means that in effect, you as a consumer are now subsidizing this inefficient t-shirt industry within the United States in order to, quote unquote, make new jobs happen. And you subsidize them, and 9 times out of 10, the United States subsidizes them. So you have the government subsidizing them, and then you have the consumer subsidizing them at the loss of buying power. And because now the cheaper alternative is out of the marketplace, the $5 that you would normally be able to spend everywhere else in all the other industries is not there. And eventually what happens is that with enough tariffs and enough increases on tariffs, and we have Nike shoes, we have tennis shoes are already at 33 to 34% tariffs already. Okay, and what ends up happening is as you have this buildup effect, the consumer has less and less buying power, not even for the goods that they need to purchase, like say groceries, but into all of the other industries that are supported. So there's no net gain in jobs. There's been no increase in demand. As a matter of fact, there's been probably a less of an increase because, again, as prices drop, demand increases. So if now the prices are going up, less people are going to buy, productivity goes down, and what ends up happening is that you have a loss of overall wages in the United States. And the last couple things I'm going to say as far as about the tariff is that if the United States in this example could make t-shirts efficiently, we would have already done it. But now let's say that, it's $30 American t-shirt and it's $30 for a Chinese t-shirt. But China, because they can make t-shirts more efficiently already, and they would be able to sell them to Americans cheaper had we not imposed a tariff, they streamlined their operations, and now they can sell t-shirts at $24. Okay, so American t-shirts are $30. China's $24 t-shirts now. They come over to the United States. We add a $5 tariff. Now, a Chinese t-shirt is $29 and a United States t-shirt is $30. Then in turn, what we do is we put a higher tariff on China's t-shirts because we need to still keep them competitive with American t-shirts. So every time there's efficiency that is created, it is blocked and thus forced to be inefficient. And so this is what they start talking about trade wars. This is what trade wars are. This is like, well, you do this to me, I'm going to do it on this import. And overall, everybody ends up actually losing. And that's not to mention the fact that all of the land that the t-shirt industry uses could have been used in a much better and more efficient way. And so it ends up being a net loss in GDP, and it's just really bad all over the board. And what happens is in this example, since the t-shirt industry came into the United States protected because of the tariff, it is constantly has to be protected, because if we could make the t-shirts efficiently the first time, we would have done it. And what ends up happening is that the companies that are subsidized, we prop up an inefficient I'm talking about economically, an inefficient company at the risk of all of the other companies that are producing goods in the United States efficiently and cheaper than they can get abroad. And so they are our heavy exporters. So where we think that the tariffs are only going to be one-sided, they're not, because the people that are efficient, it's companies that can produce cheap goods that do have demand. Now they have retaliatory tariffs on them when they go to export it out.
Thank you for listening. Please check back for upcoming episodes and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Finances, the Other F Word.